everyone, welcome back to my channel. As you can see, I have Adam from Stargazing Astrology with us as our monthly collaboration. He brings us a new moon forecast and then he does two astrology charts. And today he has Tulsi Gabbard. Is that who that is? I don't know why I always mess up her name. And then we're going to do RFK at the end of that. So what I'm going to do is hand it over to Adam. He's going to tell us a little about who he is and how to get a hold of him on his channel and what he offers as readings. And then we'll definitely get right into the forecast. So go for it, Adam.
Hey Sheila, thanks so much for having me on. So yeah, today's gonna be interesting. So currently offering those discounted astrological readings of all types. So for anyone who has any questions about something that may have happened in the past, present, or future, if you have any questions about any aspect of life, we're talking business, health, finances, marriage, any aspect of relationship, astrology is a wonderful tool for self-exploration and understanding yourself or another one. So I'm currently offering those discounted astrological readings. And a way to get a hold of me is my email address, which is actually written right there in the box. And the email is Adam Astro. That's ADAMA Astrology. So that is my information. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to touch upon the new moon forecast. So what me and Sheila are doing now is to make it a little more interactive for you guys. We're going to pull up a chart here. So it'll kind of get you guys a little more engaged. Which might be a little more interesting. So here it is. So the new moon here, it's going to be occurring on September 2nd, which is right around the corner. So it's going to be in the astrological sign of Virgo. So here it is right here. Sun and the moon sign are in Virgo. So the new moon happens once a month when the sun and the moon are in the same astrological sign. So what is highlighted here with Virgo, some of these strong Virgo qualities are health, service, discrimination. So if you picture a chaff of wheat, Virgo is all about separating what is not useful and then through a purification process, only using what is most essential and most useful. So Virgo energies are really good at skidding around the BS, so to speak. Virgo's an earth sign, so it relates to practicality. Virgo likes tangible things that are tangible, things that are grounded, and things that are pure. So that is good in the sense that people are generally less fooled and less led astray during the Virgo times. However, like any other astrological chart, there's a little bit of a catch-22. And the reason why is because this chart is characterized by a lot of these red lines that you see. And it's very much characterized by what's called a T-square. So the T-square is this shape right here. It's an upside down triangle. So a T-square is also called an efficiency square. And it's really the ability to get a lot done in a small amount of time. So when a chart like this is characterized by a T-square, it's very energetic, it's very power-packed. And this T-square is also the focal planet is Mars, and Mars represents our energy. So this T-square really represents a lot of energy and a lot of movement, a lot of unsettled energy, a lot of restlessness, and the ability to get a lot done in a small amount of time. So we're going to see a lot of forward movement during this new moon. Generally speaking, the new moon is a time of going inward. It's a time of planting new psychological seeds in order to see them come to fruition during the full moon. However, that being said, this is a busy, busy, busy new moon. So that is very exciting. And again, Mars as that focal point represents our energy. So we're going to have a lot of energy during this full moon. Mars is in what are called square aspects. So when Mars can be in square aspects, the energy can get blown out of proportion, and it's easy to do things that really exhaust your energy and exhaust your batteries. So it's important at this time to keep up your vitality and not waste your time and energy on things that aren't essential to you and your well-being. Now, another thing is this planet Neptune right here. Neptune is strongly characterized by this T-score as well. Neptune can create confusion about things. So another thing that is really highlighted around this chart is the clarity as represented by Virgo versus the confusion as represented by Neptune. And I want to say versus because Neptune and Virgo are in oppositional aspect, as you see this black line right here. Oppositions can create instability. They can create confrontation. They can create intensity. So this is basically a clarity versus a confusion time. So right now, it's really good to exercise those the discriminative faculty of Virgo that that the Virgo sun and the moon can have in order to kind of bring us out of a lack of clarity. What I recommend if you're gonna make any decisions about any aspects of life and you're not clear on those decisions, or if you're wavering, it's better to wait as opposed to jump onto those during this Neptune aspect. Again, Neptune squares and Neptune oppositions, it's not the most compatible energy for Neptune. And again, when that energy is not most compatible, confusion can set in and lack of clarity. Another thing too is the planet Saturn right here and Jupiter right here are in what's called a square aspect or a tense aspect with one another. So Jupiter and Saturn are both the social planets. They represent what is going on in the social sphere. And of course, the social sphere and the work world also has to do things with things like politics. So a square aspect represents dynamism and change. This is just a lot of shifting, a lot of movement, and a lot of dynamism and a lot of change going on in the work structures and the social structures. A lot of there can be heartache that comes up, there can be intensity that comes up, but the square energy, it comes together at an apex and it's a lot of intensity. It comes together and then it liberates. But during the time when the square energy is coming together, there's just a lot going on in a small amount of time. It can be very exciting as well. So that being said, Venus is going to be in Libra. That's probably one of the more smoother aspects. Venus in Libra is a wonderful to enjoy the arts, wonderful to enjoy beauty as well. But with Venus in oppositional aspects, you have to be careful not to do things like overspending. Venus also has to do with self-image as well. So Venus in Libra is a great time to beautify things, beautify your house, beautify yourself, do things in which you can appreciate a sense of art and beauty. Now, the last aspect, which is another kind of tense one, is the planet Uranus right here, which indicates instability, is in what's a square aspect or a tense aspect with Mercury, which is communication. So a Uranus-Mercury square can be upset in communication. It can be volatility in communication. It can be things that unexpected surprises, unexpected events. So I would say in every aspect of life, expect some unexpected when Uranus is in a square aspect. So that pretty much wraps up some of the major aspects that are going to be going on during the new moon.
Fantastic. Yeah, keep on thinking. You know, I always think when you're doing this forecast, can you hear my dog? She's scratching at something. Anyways, is the political atmosphere that's going on, right? The political thing, and you said discrimination. So I think the reason why they brought out the little thing about a law way back when our Black brothers and sisters were slaves, that they were not allowed to become president because they weren't considered a citizen of the United States. They literally brought this out to disqualify Kamala Harris.
Oh yeah.
I can't imagine them thinking that will work.
It, it's basically trying to recap. It's trying to recap the past. And what's happening now is with Pluto going into Aquarius and the last degree of Capricorn again, it's things are having to surface again. The history is not going to repeat itself, but things in retrograde motion have to surface again for a purge. And that's what's happening. And the purge needs to happen for us to move forward. So
Yeah.
it's ever good to understand what's going on astrologically. It helps understand it better because people think, oh, the past is going to repeat itself. And it's not the case. It's coming up again for a purge to move forward.
Is it coming up for a vote again? That's what I always tell everybody when you are doing your own work. It's like all of this junk and crap and pain and hurt always comes forward and it comes up for a vote. Are you going to live in that or are you going to move on? Are you going to live in that? Are you going to move on? And of course, as you can tell, that's only going to push voters to vote for Kamala Harris even more.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
More. That they would actually go back into our bylaws back in the day to that one got me. I didn't even know that existed, to be honest with you. I learned that day. But let me give you 3 cards that I have coming up for the next month or so. Well, we have Drama Queen. This is political, of course. I'm pretty sure of it. Drama Queen coming up in the September, October. We have the insatiable appetite for the drama, but it gets locked down. It does. People are like, okay, that's enough. That's enough. That's enough. So something happens at the end of all of this before we get to the new moon that we all go, that's enough. That's it. No more. We're gonna have a lot of drama. All right, so who do you have up first for the chart?
So what I have here is I have Tulsi Gabbard.
All right, I'm gonna let you get into her.
Yeah.
Well,
So
you know what I mean.
what I'm gonna do here is I'm going to again to make it a little more interactive. So to make this a little more interactive, I'm going to share Tulsi Gabbard's astrological chart. And here it is. So this is her astrological chart here. So the first thing I see right here is I see the planet Pluto in a retrograde motion. So individuals with a Pluto in retrograde motion, they're basically really learning what it's like to stand in their own personal power without either being exploited or without exploiting others. Now, this Pluto, a lot in esoteric astrology, which is very much linked into Western astrology, Pluto represents the soul and the evolution, the slow growth and evolution of the soul. So I always see individuals that are born with a Pluto in retrograde, there's an imbalance of power. So what it is here is a lot of individuals, unless they do their own personal work, their own personal growth work, which most people don't, they tend to repeat these patterns. So an individual with Pluto in retrograde really has that desire to really be power hungry in her case. So she's following the path of doing things for her own personal ego and her own personal power and satisfaction. So we know that in the long run, that is not sustainable because she's doing it for her own ego gratification. The next thing about her is her planet Jupiter is in a retrograde motion. So Jupiter represents our values and our moral compass. Speaking of our moral compass, we know not too long ago, Tulsi Gabbard was a Democrat, and now she is running for a position, or excuse me, now she's on the she's on the transition team because she wants to be in the cabinet in hopes that Trump will win. So what happens here with the Jupiter in retrograde? You follow your own moral compass. So she's very much a woman unto herself. Now, this is not necessarily a bad thing. But it's also just another component in showing that she's very much in it for herself, as represented by the Jupiter and the Pluto. Um, Another thing too is her sun sign is in Aries. So Aries is the first sign. She's impulsive, she's reckless, she's rash. And her sun sign is sitting next to Mars. So she's a really formidable opponent. You don't want to mess with her. A Sun Mars is quick to burn out as well. For example, Sarah Palin had a Sun Mars conjunction. It's strong and it's energetic, but does not equal it doesn't equal endurance. It equals burnout. So that is also a strong indication that she's going to be a little bit of a flicker, a little bit of flash in the pan with that aspect. I guarantee with this aspect that that's what happens because it always does. Another thing, well, is her sun is also sitting next to Venus, showing that there is this aspect of her that is very much a people pleaser and wants to please the people around her and kind of blend in with the people around her that suit her ego needs. So again, all about the ego needs, all about the ego gratification. Another thing is her North Node, which is her evolutionary direction of progression, is in Leo. So she really is all about taking that center stage. And her Moon, which represents her needs, is in Leo as well. The Moon in Leo, again, is all about taking center stage, all about the personal gratification. So the moon also has a lot to do with past lives, and individuals with the moon in Leo feel very much comfortable in the position of a center of attention. If there's a sign that would be an autocrat, it would be a Leo. So that being said, she has a strong fire element, which is a lot of passion, a lot of drive. Um, and she's very power hungry, but I don't see a lot of sustainability in her chart. Um, so that pretty much sums up Tulsi Gabbard. And my analysis on this is that we may continue to see Tulsi Gabbard kind of in and out of the scene, but she doesn't have the endurance and what it takes to really build up a long-lasting, solid structure. That has to do with her overabundance of fire, which lacks the Earth's sustainability, and her Pluto in retrograde, and her Jupiter in retrograde, showing that she very much kind of follows just her own thing and what she wants to do, and she bends to the whim of herself. And we know that if you're going to really make it big and far, the keyword, one of the keywords is sublimation. So yeah, that is my analysis on her.
I know you have your cards with you.
I do. Yes.
I know. I always trick everybody into reading cards with Sheila.
Should I pull a couple of cards on?
Yeah, let's pull 3 cards for her.
Okay.
See what the 3 cards. 3 cards always seems, or 4. It's your pick. See what our cards come up for her, because
she always kind of has this sort of like kind of dark, like kind of spooky energy around her. She's really not, I know she was on the Democratic Party, but I still didn't even like her then, to tell you the truth.
Yeah. I really didn't know exactly who she was until you reminded me. I mean, she's just kind of come up in my mind, like I just now recognize who she is, or understood who she is, or something like that. I haven't been paying attention to her at all. So, oh,
interesting. Okay.
Wow, what did you get?
So one, I actually, it's a little interesting in here, because the first thing I actually got was the 6 of Pentacles, which is really kind of much about the giving and receiving. So it seems like there may be some aspect to her that is in it to a certain extent for the community service. So for example, her South Node, which represents her comfort zone, is an Aquarius. And Aquarius really is more kind of a giving to the community. So I feel like there's sort of that is maybe like that's something that's kind of in the mix, but it's not really like kind of like the full picture. Um, Overcommitted, impatient, disorganized. So kind of again, a lot of back and forth energy, and this is even reversed. I mean, of course, she was a Democrat, now she's a Republican.
Yeah.
What is she going to be, like her own thing? So a lot of this jiggling back and forth, not a lot of not the ability for a lot of sustainability or sticking to one thing. And again, that has a lot to do with the fire element that she has with the Aries. Aries is impulsive, and mentioned before, she lacks the earth element, so she lacks a real sustainable structure. um she's working really hard. She's you know she it's a 24/7 thing for her. She's putting all of her eggs into this. But what I actually got for the final outcome was materialism. And I mean, this makes total sense. She's trying to work for Trump here. And what is Trump? He's the devil. I mean, the devil is materialism, right?
Well,
So she,
yeah.
that pretty much, I mean, that pretty much sums up her, right?
Well, ironically, I might almost coincide. We could have the same things. I have that she just she's just having a rough time in life.
Okay.
She's so confused. She's having a rough time, like her switching and her doing this. She's stingy. She wants more money. She wants more money. So she's doing this. Like, I'm gonna go with the party that makes more money. The Democrats don't make as much money as the Republican. I'm gonna go with the money. Because
Yep.
and it's the Hierophant, she has a religious belief system, however, is skewed and is crazy. I mean, I think she like over the top religion, because the Hierophant kind of shows up with ending with her. Like she's like crazy like the rest of them, like on this religious bout. Like she's buying into, we have to make everybody religious or we're all going to die and go to hell. This is what they believe. They have to be in control because the end of the earth is coming, and if we're not in control, we're all going to hell. She's crazy.
She to me, and seeing the sun sitting next to Mars, she's a bit of a Sarah Palin, in the sense that you see them every once in a while and they get a little bit of this, but they're little flickers, and then they just
Yeah.
die out, show up again, like with their little like, ooh, look at me, like they like try to grab onto what they can, and they get a little bit of
Yeah.
attention, and
Well, they're on the transition train, picking people for the transition that they're never, ever, 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 ever going to do. Trump
no.
will not win. So their work is literally wasteful.
Yeah, 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 yeah. But
So
again, it's another thing too is that the devil card, the devil coincides with Capricorn, right? And
yeah.
we're coming out of this Pluto and Capricorn. So that also is a strong indication that, again, that this is just a fantasy.
Yeah, the wishful thinking, craziness,
Yeah,
believing in the whatchamacallit, what is it called? The conspiracy theory. She's delusional.
yeah.
I feel a lot of stuff around her. She's gonna fall hard.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. No, she's definitely gonna fall hard.
All right,
Yeah,
so now you have RFK. RFK, of course, asked Kamala Harris, and Kamala Harris says, "Bye, boy, bye. No, move it along. You're not coming over here on this camp." And then so he had to then go to Trump, which I think he was with Trump from the get-go. I think he tried to get on because he would have probably caused a lot of problems with Kamala Harris, if they would have agreed to him being there, and he would have still been working for Trump. I think he's worked for Trump the whole time. He's just a chaos creator, and now that he has suspended his campaign. He's so funny. We're suspending my campaign. Everybody says that, but for him, he had to explain, "I'm not quitting. I'm just suspending." And he had it. Oh, whatever, dude. And then
yeah. Oh,
of course, he goes over to, and then Trump thinks that that endorsement is just gonna blow him up. It's just gonna really do something for his campaign. But anyways, yeah, what does his chart has to say? I'm curious
he's
about
real. Yeah, no, that's a good question. He's real wishful thinking, and I'm gonna share his chart with here. I mean, to tell you the truth, like his chart actually is much messier than Tulsi's, even, believe it or not. Um, as you can see, just by I'm laughing, but if you guys look right here in the center is the aspect grid. You see all of those lines. Those are all aspects. That this man has a lot of aspects, more than average. This indicates just a lot of push and pull and a lot of taking back and a lot of this and of that, a lot of challenges, a lot of obstacles, a lot of ego battles. And this individual is just really, really dynamic, like super changeable, super controversial. Um, this is not someone, just this aspect grid is far too messy for to have an individual in power. So just like Tulsi Gabbard, he has is Pluto in retrograde as well. And again, the soul evolution of the Pluto in retrograde is to learn to stand in your own power without abusing others or without others abusing you. So again, a lot of his issues are based around his power plays. And just like Tulsi Gabbard, he has a Jupiter in retrograde. Jupiter represents those moral values, the moral compass. Jupiter in retrograde individuals, they follow their own moral values. So again, he was a Democratic, and now he's on the Trump bandwagon. He's so in that sense, him and Tulsi have two strong parallels with these aspects. So he is a Capricorn sun sign. So Capricorn represents the 10th house in astrology, which represents the solidified ego structure. Now, Capricorn can go a couple ways. Capricorn can be the wise, prudent individual who plans well for the future and has a lot of sustainability, or it can also be the pompous, egocentric individual. And in this case, it's more the pompous, egocentric individual. Now, take Jeff Bezos, for example. He is a Capricorn sun sign. He has a lot in Capricorn. These individuals can be power hungry. They can be rigid as well. Now, Capricorn also rules the devil, like I mentioned before, in tarot, which represents materialism. Again, he is a stronger representation of Pluto and Capricorn as opposed to Pluto moving into Aquarius. And the reason why that he's probably been sort of attracted kind of towards the Trump stuff is because, again, the personal power, and he's more vibrating at that Pluto and Capricorn level, which is old school ideologies. We really don't want this man in office. So another thing too is his sun sign is next to Mercury and next to Venus. So Tulsi also has Sun Venus and well. Sun sitting next to Venus as well. And again, these individuals, they will say and they will do things to please other people in order to get in position of power. So it's amazing some of these major aspects that that these two have that are parallel. However, though, an individual with the Sun Venus, they will kind of bend to anyone's whim if they think it's feeding their own power and their own agenda. Another thing too is he has the planet Mars, which represents energy, sitting next to Saturn. He has emotional problems, and Mars represents anger. Mars represents energy. Sitting next to Saturn, it blocks it. Every individual, if you're out there with the Mars Saturn, I feel for you. That's a hard aspect. That's things like repressed anger, explosive anger, psychological issues around your upbringing. Not this can also indicate a more challenging upbringing as well. This can also represent repressed aspects in your life. Sometimes it even represents things like repressed sexuality. So another aspect as well is his midheaven, which stands for his goal aspiration, is in Aries. This man really strives to be a trailblazer. He strives to be an individual and a unique individual unto himself, which is fine. But Aries being at what's called a really sensitive point isn't very sustainable. So just like Tulsi Gabbard with all of her Aries energy, it's more of kind of a flicker here and there. Now his moon is in Cancer, so he really acts upon his emotions here. Cancer moon can be very intuitive, very nurturing as well. I'm not sure if it's the best position for someone who could potentially be in a lot of power. And the reason why is because his moon sign is sitting next to Uranus. The moon represents our emotions, and what do we do on as humans? What do we act upon? Our emotions, right? The moon sitting next to Uranus, that can indicate volatility in the emotions, instability in the emotions, unchangeable, unpredictable. We need predictability. So he also is aspect pattern in the middle here. It's characterized by a lot of aspects, and one of the aspects is called a grand cross. This is the one of the hardest aspects. It's indicative of individual who kind of feels like they've been put on a cross, so to speak, so almost kind of nailed to a cross. These individuals, they have the ability for a lot of transformation. They also tend to have very, very intense karmic lives. And we really see a parallel with the Grand Cross in his chart in relation to the other Kennedys. So this is not an easy soul. This is not an easy pick for his soul, this chart. There's a lot of work to be done, a lot of burdens, a lot of challenges to overcome, a lot of feeling like you're sort of being put on a cross here. There is the ability to overcome a lot of things as well. But what happens with the Grand Cross, it's characterized by all these square aspects. And a lot of times, unless an individual has done a lot of personal work, square aspects are more dynamic and they're more reactive. So we may see a lot of reaction from him as opposed to a lot of action, so to speak. So reaction comes in the forms of saying things, being changeable, but not actually seeing anything get manifested on this concrete earth. So that being said, his chart actually is even a little more messier than Tulsi's. And he's just, he's does not have a great chart for a leader. He has too many issues. Okay.
We know that. We definitely know that. All right, let's throw like 3 cards on him real quick. 3 or 4, whichever one tickles your fancy.
Yep.
I just feel his voice. I don't. Oh, have you ever listened to somebody a smoker's voice?
Yes.
That's what he reminds me of. I don't know if he smokes or not. I really don't know. But his voice sounds like a smoker's voice.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, I don't know if it's probably medically induced. I don't know, but I can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
3 seconds in and I'm like changing. I can't.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't imagine him being a leader or in charge of anything.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What'd you get?
Um, this is as mentioned before, that the Grand Cross he has with all those squares, individuals feel very much like they're sort of being hung to a cross, so to speak. And the cards actually really go with that. The Ten of Swords. This is like his last like hope. Trump, like Trump's his last hope for his delusion of
Sure.
a legacy that he's never going to carry on. And then I got the Hangman. So pause, letting go, surrender. And what's interesting, as we all know, the Hangman is a major arcana, right, which has more to do with the evolution of the growth of the soul and the soul learning as opposed to the personality, right? So he actually is learning. Through his losing with this, he actually is learning a bit about surrender, letting go, new perspective, acceptance, deep insight, sacrifice, right? So he is by him doing this, right? Like his ego is doing this, his personality is going after all this stuff, right? But him losing, right, on a soul level, he's learning some of the higher soul qualities, right, as represented by the Hangman by undergoing this. So it's just looking at this from a different perspective. And I always do that when I pick the major arcana. And another thing I see is the Eight of Cups reversed, right? And eight, what is eight? Death, rebirth, transformation. The trying one more time, indecision, aimless drift, avoidance, fear of change, fear of loss. So what this tells me is that the evolution of the growth of the soul that he's going to learn through the hangman, it's going to be a very small amount, just like a little trickle. And then he's going to continue his trying one more time, his indecision, his aimless drift, his avoidance, his fear, right? Because let's face it, like, does anyone really learn on one of their first lives? I don't know.
I don't know. I probably didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't even learn throughout my first 20 years of being on this earth.
Right. Right. And I know that's a little bit abstract, right? Saying like, is this his first life? I mean, who knows, right? That's hard to say, but just as far as like one lifespan, right? It seems a lot of times like we need to kind of repeat things over and over before we get the lesson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Either we're slow learners or quick learners. It's just how
mm-hmm.
it is. I have this. It's all about money for him. Maybe he's losing money, Trump's losing money. Both of them are going to tank because so they buddied up, partnership, buddy,
Mm-hmm.
buddy, teamwork. But their buddy up and their teamwork ends with the tower.
Oh, of course.
It is going to blow up in their face. This is going to be so big. How much this blows up in both his face and Trump's face.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
It's gonna
mm-hmm.
be it's gonna be lovely to watch. I'm not saying that, but I think we're in for, dare I say it, a treat.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I don't, want to place, anybody else's failures. That's not how what we do. And this is like the spiritual community and all that. But come on, we're ready. We're ready because they haven't taken their cues prior to this. They just keep on going. And we've warned them. Everybody has warned them. The world has warned each of them, especially Trump. And at some point in time, all the people who were the good people who were warning him, we all just go, "You're on your own, bud.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
You're on your own."
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then we get to sit back and just grab our popcorn and go, "There's nothing we can do."
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, yeah.
all right. Well, thank you, Adam. Thank you so much for the insight. I really appreciate it. Is there any last clever words that you have for us?
Oh yes, if you guys have not yet subscribed to my YouTube page, it's Adam Stargazing Astrology.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm on the ball and I'm with it, I usually put your link in the comments.
Okay, fantastic.
That's if I get to it. I try. But if I don't, Adam will put it there.
Yes.
And then I'll fit it. So,
yeah.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this. Bye.